Hello there, Commonwealth from Tears of the Kingdom came and went, but like new sea surface level islands. Meanwhile, which Zelda is more beloved than ever? The Wind Waker, the ugly duckling that over the years grew to become a beautiful swan. The only one with real dual analog camera controls until the second half of the 2010s. So here is my idea, holding hands like in 2023. But in the case of the next Zelda, Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom, crossover with the Wind Waker. The ultimate Zelda experience, and one that has never been done this way before. Well, I will tell you, and far more after you leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell. We're going for 2026 likes, since well, this game will come out after that. The open air formula is here to stay, but it needs some tweaking, and it can be achieved by taking familiar formulas but reinventing them to take them to the next level. Since the Wind Waker is in truth the first open world Zelda through its sailing from island to island. Naturally, this experience was limited in 2002 due to being way ahead of its time, both when it came to the system, the GameCube, and the maturity of the open world genre as a whole. Since well, the game came out right after GTA 3, and it goes without saying, there's still so much unrealized potential right here. Then you have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom as Hyrule, a masterpiece of a surface map and experience, which had one big gameplay boundary. Well, that, and one that Wind Waker HD didn't have, namely difficulty setting options at any point in your playthrough, switching between normal and hero mode, something we couldn't do on the Zeldas of the Nintendo Switch. That is the lesser one, but the real one was the lack of underwater gameplay in all of these three games, a form of Zelda content that has never been 100% realized. Well, the following concept that I'm about to present is the ideal solution as it has never been seen in a 3D Zelda game before, combining land and sea to the utmost potential, the best of Breath and Tears surface exploration, and the Wind Waker's sea and sailing from island to island formula. Half land with its settlements and landscapes, half sea filled with islands of different sizes that also have marine settlements and civilizations. A Zelda game that explores a part of our world that is quite common in places like Norway, Italy, Croatia, Greece, and naturally the Zelda team's own Japan, all having mainland or main island, but with islands in its surrounding water territories. Archipelagos, which we only got in the Sky Islands in Tears of the Kingdom, but not on the surface, as the same game added 0 new islands to Hyrule Seas. So what do we need? A new map outside of Hyrule, around the same size as the current surface, where about 50% is land, granting us 40 to 50% of Breath of the Wild's map size as exclusive running and climbing around territory. We all want less emptiness, and this is a way of bringing things closer together. Much of this territory then ends up as seas, but with different shapes. Some might be stiff cliffs, or the fjords, or some might just be stunning coasts with gorgeous harbour towns. Think Italy's Cinque Terre, Amalfi, and well, Croatia's Dubrovnik. Or the ultimate coastal or island city anywhere, Venice. Or Venezia, with its iconic canals. This is what we could have, is the first 3D Zelda with a main settlement next to or on the sea itself. Not counting Wind Waker's island settlements naturally, but those were tiny in comparison to what we are envisioning. Or leading us into the other half. Islands within a new Great Sea, approximately 40 to 50% of Breath of the Wild's map. Not an empty one, but rather filled with small and big islands, some of them with villages and even towns and cities of their own. And in between, the ability to sail and potentially go underwater. That's right, the underwater could be this game's depths, but instead of emptiness, filled with aquatic activity, fish, different sea life, and of course, the return of Caesars. Yes, an underwater civilization. However, the sea shouldn't be the only place for underwater activity. The same should apply to rivers, lakes, and so on. Now then, with our layout in place, let's get into the art style and setting. It goes without saying, the Breath of the Wild art style is beautiful, but after using it for Breath, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, and most recently Tears of the Kingdom, it is time for something new. Especially now that we're about to enter more powerful hardware and likely upscaled 4K. In this regard, I want to see the Zelda team take a stab at a style closer to Twilight Princess once again. Why do I say that? Since no reaction will ever beat the reveal of this one in 2004, and after over 20 years, and with the strongest Nintendo system, you know what to do. But does it have to look ultra realistic? No, but an art style between Tears and, say, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt and Assassin's Creed Odyssey would be more than welcome. After all, we have seen people add Link in the format, and the time period of the latter will make for the perfect setting for parts of the next Zelda game. The Mediterranean world, with its stone, marble, and massive seaside powerhouses. With the last two Zeldas, we got ceramic and wooden historic Japan, dating all the way back to the Jommu. Meanwhile, the Gerudo were more Egyptian than ever before, and we also had Greco-Roman ruins. But what we need is the colorful columns of the Greeks and Romans to be more than just ruins. Well, that, and an island settlement to rival the most stunning city in the world, Venice. Let's be honest, the Zelda team takes inspiration from our own world, but then blends it with fantasy. What we have laid out here for the setting and art style fits that philosophy perfectly. Add to that sea-based overworld bosses like in the Wind Waker, and it settles the groundwork for this game. Add to that sea-based overworld bosses like those found in the Wind Waker, and it settles the groundwork for this game. Now, let's get into storytelling, and I only have a few requirements. A new villain, and far more involvement of this one with Link and Zelda, where it is this duo of lovebirds or a new pair. The storytelling should once again be more linear, but not necessarily at the expense of non-linear map and dungeon exploration. Well, that, and also be darker, where everything in the present does not only go upward for the hero. It is time to bring back setbacks in Zelda, also after the open. Let me explain. The storytelling could be tied to the number of dungeons you have completed. In other words, instead of a set linear dungeon order, like in the past, we could instead have a non-linear item-based dungeon order, like in A Link Between Worlds, but linear cutscene order. And in truth, this is nothing new, since the location of the memories in Tears of the Kingdom had nothing to do with the location that said cutscenes took place, standing in great contrast to what was the case in Breath of the Wild and the photographic memories of that game. With this change already made by the Zelda team, all that is required is to move the memories if they have to stay to the very end of proper dungeons. And structure-wise, everything is already in place, since two of the memories tied to Minoru and the Spirit Temple were presented exactly in the post-dungeon manner we suggest here in Tears of the Kingdom. In other words, the Zelda team simply need to take another step closer to the traditional ones, both in design and quality. What do I mean by that? No 5 terminals to activate or padlocks to unlock to enter the boss. We need non-linear dungeon progression, but with linear structure in the temple itself, with gradual build-up, not only music to the boss encounter. Well, that and proper dungeon themes and iconic puzzles. Think Ocarina of Time's Forest Temple's Twisted Corridor and the Light Arrow plot twist in Majora's Mask's Stone Tower Temple. But you know what those games also had? Companions. But what we need is something like the King of Red Lions and Midna. Well-written and designed companions with deeper meaning and direct connection to the main quests, including moments where they shined and revealed a hidden truth to the hero of that particular era. We miss these kinds of revelations, but also interaction with quirky but beloved characters, as we don't want to lose them for the foreseeable future. Over 20 years after the last sassy Zelda companion, it will be time for another one. Just like Gerudo Ganondorf was gone as the main villain for well over 15 years. It is time to address this once and for all. The best of the 3D past can work with the best of the 3D present, but quality is always preferable over quantity. Shrines were a nice introduction, but the number of them, due to the size of the world, was way too high in Tears of the Kingdom, especially when we add over 100 light roots in the depths, and well, there you have the root of the problem. We need a little less, but of higher quality. Moments that will stay with us, not only the opening and ending, since many players never reach the final battle and love in the air of Tears of the Kingdom. And that is pretty much it, as I more than trust the Zelda team in the gameplay and exploration departments, plus whatever crazy mechanics and chemistry/physics engine that they will add in the next few years. But what do you think will be found in the next Zelda game? Sound off in the comment section down below if you haven't already. And to make this video more visible, be sure to leave a like, subscribe and press the notification bell. And a big thanks as always goes to all our patreon.com/comearound patrons. Special shoutouts go to Raw producers Zach Johnson and JC Funk, who by the way suggested this video, and heroes Holly Wolf, Cheryl and Garrett Hoy. You rock, and please enjoy one or both of these two awesome videos.